When Tyler first saw the man in a shiny badge and HOA vest near his driveway, he assumed it was routine. He couldn't have been more wrong. Tyler Jordan had lived in Oak Grove Estates for 3 peaceful years. The neighborhood was quiet, upscale, and known for its meticulous HOA guidelines. Tyler didn't mind. He liked order, and after moving from the chaos of downtown, he found peace in this planned community. He paid his HOA dues on time, kept his yard trimmed, and even installed the required black mailbox without complaint. One morning, while sipping coffee and preparing for a client Zoom call, Tyler noticed a man pacing near his vintage 1971 Mustang. His pride and joy. The man wore a reflective HOA vest and carried a clipboard. His name tag read, Officer Kent, HOA Enforcement. He tapped the car's windshield, took photos, and finally approached Tyler's porch. "Morning," the man said, flashing a badge that looked official, but not quite right. "This vehicle's been noted for non-compliance, violating driveway policy. Classic or not, it can't be parked here overnight." Tyler furrowed his brow. "I'm sorry. I wasn't aware of that rule. I've had this car here for over a year, no complaints." Kent gave a tight-lipped smile. "Well, I'm telling you now, this is a written warning. Next time, it's a fine." Tyler took the paper, a citation with no letterhead, just printed, in plain text. "Can I get something official from the HOA about this?" But Kent was already walking away, mumbling something about non-compliance protocols. Uneasy, Tyler checked the HOA portal that evening. No mention of driveway policies. For classic cars, no record of Officer Kent. Something didn't feel right. Still, Tyler brushed it off. Maybe a new hire? A policy change he hadn't heard about? But the way that man had looked at his car, almost with anger, haunted him. And by the end of the week, he'd realized that this wasn't just about rules. It was personal. What happened next turned a quiet Sunday morning into a neighborhood-wide shockwave. Sunday mornings in Oak Grove Estates were usually slow and silent, lawn mowers humming in the distance, neighbors walking their dogs, and families preparing for brunch. But not this one. Tyler was jolted awake by the sound of something smashing. Glass, metal, and the unmistakable shriek of force. He rushed out of his front door barefoot, heart thumping, only to freeze at the sight in front of him. His 1971 Mustang, the one his father had helped him restore, was totaled. The windshield was shattered. The front bumper had been crushed inward, one side mirror was hanging by wires, and all 4 tires were slashed. It didn't look like an accident. It looked like rage, deliberate destruction. A small crowd had gathered. One neighbor gasped. "Was that a break-in?" Another whispered, "I think I saw someone walk off just before the noise. Wasn't that HOA guy again?" Tyler's hands shook as he tried to process the scene. That Mustang wasn't just a car, it was family history. He had worked on it for years with his late father, bringing it back to life. Now, it was wrecked. He called the police, but when they arrived, the officers shrugged. "No clear suspect," they said. "Unless you've got video or a witness, there's not much we can do." Tyler's eyes narrowed. Wait, I might. He had installed a security camera on the garage just a few weeks ago after a package was stolen. He rushed inside and pulled up the footage. What he saw made his blood run cold. There, in grainy black and white, was Kent, the same man in the fake HOA vest, walking up to the car, pulling something heavy from a bag, and smashing the windshield. He circled the vehicle like a predator, slashing the tires before disappearing into the early morning fog. Tyler stared at the screen, fists clenched. This wasn't random vandalism. It was targeted. He didn't know why Kent was doing this, or who he really was, but he was done brushing it off. This wasn't over. Everyone thought Tyler was being dramatic, until he showed them the footage. The next day, Tyler marched into the monthly HOA board meeting with a copy of the security footage on a flash drive and fury in his chest. The meeting was held at the community clubhouse, usually a place for potlucks and pool parties, not accusations. He waited his turn and then stood before the board. "There's a man going around posing as HOA enforcement," Tyler began, his voice tight. "He smashed my car, left phony citations, and he's not in your records. His name tag said Kent." The board members exchanged glances. "Officer Kent?" The HOA president, Mr. Bradley, asked with a puzzled tone. "We don't have anyone by that name on our enforcement team, and we certainly don't have anyone authorized to issue citations alone." "I have video footage," Tyler said, holding up the flash drive. "Clear as day. He was wearing your vest, using your name, and he totaled my car, but instead of outrage, he was met with skepticism. I'm sure you're upset," one board member said cautiously, "but maybe it was just a misunderstanding. Vandalism is serious, but assuming it's connected to the HOA without real evidence could damage our reputation." Tyler clenched his jaw. "Did you even hear what I said? I have him on video. Do you want to see it or not?" Finally, they agreed to watch. The room fell silent as the footage played. Kent approaching the car, swinging a heavy object, glass shattering, tires collapsing under his blade. No mask, no rush, like he had done it before. When it ended, the silence lingered. Mr. Bradley finally spoke, his tone more serious now. This is not someone from our office. This man is impersonating an HOA official, and if he's doing this to you, he could be targeting others." Tyler felt a mixture of validation and frustration. "Then why?" he asked. "Was I the only one raising the alarm until now?" Another board member replied softly, "Because no one else had the courage to speak up." Tyler knew one thing, now for sure. This wasn't just about his Mustang. It was about stopping someone who thought he could control a whole neighborhood through fear, and Tyler was no longer afraid. The moment Tyler hit send on that email, everything started to unravel. After the HOA board finally acknowledged the footage, Tyler wasted no time. He emailed the video file, his written statement, and a timeline of events to the local police department, the HOA legal team, and even a few residents he trusted in the neighborhood. He titled the email, "Imposter Alert, Fraudulent HOA Cop Vandalizing Properties." Within hours, his inbox lit up. One neighbor responded, "He fined me last month. I paid cash to avoid processing fees." Another wrote, "He warned me about my recycling bin being visible. I thought it was weird. He wasn't on the HOA list." By nightfall, Tyler had over a dozen responses from other residents, each sharing suspicious encounters with Kent. Some had been given fake citations. Others were harassed verbally. A few were too embarrassed to admit they'd paid him. This wasn't a one-time incident. It was a pattern. Tyler organized the emails and video evidence into a folder and personally handed it over to the local police department. This time, the officers took it seriously. "This isn't just property damage anymore," Officer Nguyen told him. "This looks like impersonation of an authority figure, fraud, possibly theft, and intimidation. He's not just a vandal. He's running a scam." Meanwhile, the HOA began damage control. They sent out an urgent email blast to all residents warning them not to engage with any enforcement officer who wasn't listed on the official HOA website. They added headshots and contact info for the real team and promised immediate changes in procedure. Tyler's phone buzzed constantly, neighbors thanking him, some apologizing for doubting him. One woman, Mrs. Peters from 3 blocks over, shared footage of Kent walking up to her home and peering through her front window. She had dismissed it as paranoia. Now it made her skin crawl. The police began actively looking for Kent, but he had vanished. No one had seen him since the HOA meeting. No vehicles, no cameras catching him at the gate. It was as if he disappeared into thin air. But Tyler had a gut feeling. Someone like that doesn't just stop. They wait. Misunderstanding. Vandalism is serious, but assuming it's connected to the HOA without real evidence could damage our reputation. Tyler clenched his jaw. Did you even hear what I said? I have him on video. Do you want to see it or not? Finally, they agreed to watch. The room fell silent as the footage played. Kent approaching the car, swinging a heavy object, glass, shattering, tires collapsing under his blade, no mask, no rush, like he had done it before. When it ended, the silence lingered. Mr. Bradley finally spoke, his tone more serious now. This is not someone from our office. This man is impersonating an HOA official. And if he's doing this to you, he could be targeting others. Tyler felt a mixture of validation and frustration. Then why? He asked. Was I the only one raising the alarm until now? Another board member replied softly, because no one else had the courage to speak up. Tyler knew one thing, now for sure. This wasn't just about his Mustang. It was about stopping someone who thought he could control a whole neighborhood through fear, and Tyler was no longer afraid. Tyler thought he was on his own, until a surprise knock on his door changed everything. It had been a week since Tyler's video started circulating. The police were investigating, and the HOA had implemented new protocols. But Kent was still out there, and that unsettled Tyler more than anything. He kept checking the street cameras installed near the gate and watching the security app on his phone like clockwork. His vintage Mustang had been towed to a restoration garage, but he still walked the empty driveway every morning out of habit and unease. Then, one rainy evening, just as Tyler was about to lock up for the night, there was a knock on his door. Standing there, holding an old binder wrapped in plastic, was an elderly woman he recognized but had never spoken to. Her name was Mrs. Delaney, lived alone at the far corner of the neighborhood. I saw the video, she said quietly, voice shaking, but determined. I know that man. He came to my house, too. Tyler invited her inside and made tea while she opened her binder. Inside were neatly kept records, notes, photos, letters, spanning months. Kent had visited her 3 times over the past year, each time citing her for different infractions. I thought he was real, she said, ashamed. I paid him twice, cash, and when I started asking questions, he threatened to call the city. Tyler's eyes widened. You kept all of this? Mrs. Delaney nodded. I used to work in records before I retired. I document everything. I just never had the courage to come forward. But now, encouraged by Tyler's bravery, she was ready to act. Together, they created a shared folder with every document and image she had. Tyler also reached out to others who had messaged him earlier. By the end of the week, they had 12 people sharing statements and evidence. An informal task force had formed. Neighbors who had once lived in fear, now working together to expose a fraud. The HOA board was forced to hold an emergency town hall meeting. Residents filled the room. What started with one man's car had exploded into a neighborhood reckoning. Tyler looked around and saw something he hadn't expected. Solidarity. And just when they started to feel safe again, Kent returned. Just when they thought it was over, the man in the vest returned. But this time, Tyler was ready. 2 weeks had passed since the HOA meeting where dozens of residents stood united against the fake officer. The neighborhood was quieter now, but not in the peaceful way Tyler remembered. More like a calm before the storm. Everyone was on edge. The HOA had hired a private patrol company while the police continued their investigation. Tyler upgraded his home security system with extra cameras and motion detectors. His restored Mustang had returned, repainted, and gleaming in the driveway, but he parked it with caution, checking on it more than he liked to admit. Then it happened. Early, on a Thursday morning just before sunrise, one of Tyler's cameras buzzed with movement. He opened the app, and his heart sank. There he was, Kent. Same vest, same clipboard, calm as ever, walking down the sidewalk like nothing had happened. Tyler didn't hesitate. He grabbed his phone and called Officer Nguyen directly. He's back. He's in the neighborhood right now. I've got him on camera. Nguyen was already on alert. Stay inside. We're on the way. But Tyler wasn't just going to sit and wait this time. He stepped outside, phone recording, and followed Kent from a safe distance. The man stopped at a young couple's house across the street. He knocked, clipboard in hand, and started lecturing them about a violation regarding their backyard fence. The couple looked confused and scared, just like Tyler had been weeks earlier. Moments later, 2 squad cars turned into the cul-de-sac. Kent froze. Tyler shouted, "That's him! He's the guy!" Kent tried to run, but the police boxed him in. He was restrained on the spot, face down on the pavement, as neighbors slowly began emerging from their homes. Everyone was silent, watching. It wasn't dramatic or loud, just cold and final. Kent was caught, and this time there was no question about it. As the officers placed him in the back of the cruiser, Kent looked up at Tyler. His face held no remorse, just disbelief that it was over. Tyler didn't look away, because after everything Kent had done, not just to him, but to the entire neighborhood, justice had finally arrived. The neighborhood that once ignored Tyler now stood and applauded him. Kent's arrest sent shockwaves through Oak Grove Estates. But this time, it wasn't fear that spread. It was relief. The next day, local news crews parked outside the gated entrance. Word had gotten out about the fake HOA officer who scammed residents, vandalized property, and posed as a figure of authority. The footage Tyler recorded of Kent's final confrontation aired on the evening news. Suddenly, Tyler wasn't just the man with the broken Mustang. He was the one who brought a neighborhood scam artist to justice. The police confirmed that Kent, real name Kenneth Dorsey, had no ties to the HOA or any official enforcement agency. He was a former security contractor with a criminal record for impersonation and petty fraud. He had slipped through the cracks by preying on communities with strict HOA rules, using fear and intimidation to his advantage. With the evidence gathered by Tyler and his secret alliance, Kenneth was charged with multiple counts: impersonating a public official, criminal mischief, vandalism, harassment, and fraud. There were at least 15 victims just in Oak Grove Estates alone, some too embarrassed to come forward but grateful all the same. The HOA issued a public apology and completely overhauled their enforcement practices. They now required digital IDs with QR codes, background checks for all staff, and neighborhood-wide transparency on policy enforcement. No one would ever impersonate their authority again. As for Tyler, the community held a small gathering at the clubhouse to thank him. Neighbors who once doubted him lined up to shake his hand. The HOA board even presented him with a certificate of recognition and helped fund a new security gate for his driveway. A local classic car club pitched in to pay off the rest of his Mustang's restoration and surprised him with a brand new garage tool set. But for Tyler, the real reward wasn't the applause. It was knowing he had helped people find their voice, that he'd turned fear into strength. He looked out over the smiling faces of his once silent neighbors, knowing that their unity, not their rules, would now define Oak Grove Estates. And Kent. He didn't expect what happened next, because no one ever expects a quiet man with a camera and courage to change everything.